Hi everyone, Dice here. So we had our first Lauren story since we have been back from the holiday season. So if you don't know, Dragon Federation is based in the USA, and so not everyone on the development team had time off, but that was of their own choice. Most people did take time off for one holiday or another, or just because it's kind of vacation season in general. So we understand that some people were really frustrated because it's been a bit quiet, which in the Lauren story that happened on January 15th. Lauren's story is bi-weekly, so we've picked back up since the holiday season. And we're starting off fresh in the new year. So intentionally, deliberately, Dragon Federation has been very, very quiet. Some really significant things came to light during the beta quest, they said, or the beta test, they said, which is that each time they've pushed a version update during the beta quest, it became apparent that more and more things broke. So they've documented all the code, they documented all the errors, and they've been reviewing that for a while. And the Dragon Federation feels that they are in a very good place. They found out specifically that the UI was developed very poorly. So before, as I understand it, before any code was input into the system, Dragon Federation for the Kickstarter back in 2019 built a visual UI of what they wanted it to look like. It didn't necessarily react to your touches and things, I don't think. Again, it looked like it was more meant to be like a preview to entice investors. So that was developed back in 2019. When it was handed off to their first AR team, they built on top of it. So they just put new icons on top of the old icons instead of starting fresh. And then the new development team, AR team, the current AR team that's working, they developed on top of that. So sometimes when you click a button in the mobile app, it'll go black or it'll act kind of wonky. So currently, Dragon Federation thinks that the actual issue is more UI issue as opposed to code base. The code looks good, the functionality is working, it is actually there, it's just the way the UI works. UI is user interface, for those of you who don't know. So they've brought in a UI specialist who is rebuilding the UI from the ground up, and then will later plug in the functionality, the code functionalities. So Samson said in the, sorry, I keep like shaking my leg. I hope this video isn't too shaky. In the near future, Samson anticipates the 30-day beta, which will be the full life cycle over 30 days. As for the AR team that works on the code, not the UI specialist, they are family, they're siblings, and they've had another death in their family, unfortunately, so they have been taking some time off. They've also had a few other personal setbacks during this time, and so there isn't a lot to report in the way of the mobile app. We do ask that people be polite, and you want to be treated with kindness, and I get that you want your product, but just the golden rule, try to remember how you want to be treated and treat others that way. So technology is embedded in the world of Dragon Federation. Some people want more of a medieval play style, some people want like hyper-focused technology, but the lore and story is that technology is what enables us to go into that world. So with that said, the team has always focused on trying to make the VR as system agnostic as possible. If you don't know what agnostic means, essentially what they're saying when they say system agnostic is that it doesn't require a specific VR headset. That's really incredibly nuanced to say, though. So I repeat that from the Lauren story with the note that it is incredibly nuanced, because certain headsets will have better processing powers, which means the graphics will be better, which means the frame rate will be better, etc., etc., etc. Wired headsets are always better than wireless headsets, because at least if you have a good gaming computer, because if you have a cruddy computer, you're running a wired headset, you're going to have those computing issues. Dragon Federation cannot control that. And it's unrealistic to ask them to. So for those of you who keep asking what headset is best, Dragon Federation is building the VR app with the experience of MetaQuest in mind, and they are currently working in full pass-through. And what that means is you can put on this headset and it will map your environment and it'll show you your environment, and then you can see your dragon in your home and it can jump on your bed or your couch or other furniture. It can interact with your surroundings a bit. And so that's what they mean by full pass-through. Samson, when he talks about how technology is embedded in the world, also said that they want to be very disability friendly. So they understand that some people, the VR experience isn't the best experience for them because they get motion sick. I personally can't stand for several hours, so I do have to sit. So they are doing their best as they build these programs to make it accessible friendly. Sorry, I'm holding this out way far away and I should get comfy before I started. So Samson's talking about there is a goal to go back and to turn off. I don't know what that looks like technological wise. I don't know what time frame that looks like, but there is an eventual goal that if you don't want to use the VR, you will be able to access it differently. It'll just be immersion breaking. It might not work the same way it does in VR, and that will come online later. He also announced that these first dragons bought will be unique behavior and appearance wise, just because they are true purebred wild dragons, and all others will be considered tamed bred ones. I guess that kind of is supposed to follow the idea of a little bit of epigenetics without getting too deep into the weeds with epigenetics. But a great follow-up question to that statement came from Scott. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your username wrong. But they asked, will breeding tamed dragons have markers planned in the pipeline? With my experience with dogs, essentially like dogs that have droopy ears or spots, those are tamed markers that you can see. And Samson said that they haven't gone into detail because breeding is quite a distance away, and the development teams really need to focus on what's happening immediately. When this experience launches, the goal is that they will be 6 months to a year ahead of players. We don't like to use the word game or players, but that's kind of what it is. The customers, because the minute it launches, they're going to ask for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So they've got to try and think ahead. And so breeding is a while off. I mean, your dragon potentially isn't even rideable until 6 months of age. But until it's made, I like to put a little note, until it's made and we see it in game, anything that's talked about could be changed, just depending on what happens with their roadmap. So one of the big popular Lauren story topics that the Discord community has been talking about, or at least did before the holidays, was that they were very concerned with, they want their dragons to talk to them. I'm going to make a side note. So we're leaving Lauren's story and I'm going to get on my own little opinion. I really like this project and I really like that they listen to consumer feedback. I don't always agree with everyone, and that doesn't mean my opinion is more important than anyone else's. It just makes me feel a little awkward that the dragons are supposed to be more intelligent than we are, and now we're talking about that they can speak to us like telepathically, and we're breeding them and then selling their offspring. That brings up a few moral questions for me. But this is a game. It's an experience, and I think I'm the only one who's ever felt that way, because based off of the feedback I see in Discord, everybody wants this. So this was talked about before I actually purchased my egg. So while that was my little opinion piece, we'll just go back to reviewing lore and story and kind of giving those status updates. So the planned roadmap did originally have that the dragons will communicate. But then they got hyper-focused on other things, and so there hasn't been much communication on that. So they hope to have an option where it is possible to turn off your dragon talking to you or not. However, nonverbal communication must be perfectly on point and polished before they go down the rabbit hole of your dragon talking to you. So potentially I extrapolate the information that when the experience launches, it might not talk to you. But Samson was asking who all wants their dragons to talk to them. So if you want to hop on over to Discord, go into lore and story and share your opinion, or if you want to leave a comment down below, that's more than welcome, and I can pass that on to the team. But when Dragon Federations looks at what they're doing, it's far more than just a dragon companion. They want to talk about going on trips. Sorry, back up. When consumers talk about that they're concerned because they're going to go on a trip and they're not going to take their dragon with them, the ultimate goal is that you can take your dragon everywhere with you, because you can still feed and provide general care to your dragon in the mobile app. And they're even talking about expanding what that actually looks like into something more, a little more involved, where like it can go to the store with you. It can help you traverse like Google Maps. So the conversations of people being very concerned about leaving their dragon behind and being unable to care for it maybe isn't as concerning as people think it is right now. He didn't want to go too far down the road. But the goal is to have a digital asset, your dragon, that is almost overwhelmingly there. Whether it like can text you, whether you can hop on and it like gives you reminders, it's part of your calendar. They want it to be so involved that this is like a constant daily thing for you, and not in a grindy way. He did mention that they are testing an LLM model that has to do with the Dragon AI. I'm not too familiar, and he didn't go into too much detail. They are using the LLM model, but they see it as becoming much more sophisticated than the current LLM model. So that's, again, I don't know too much about the LLM model. I can't share too much, but if you're familiar with that, like, kudos, awesome. Moving on to the next point is that they hope to have a finalized roadmap, a visual finalized roadmap that they can share with the community in the next 16 months. It's been a really common question when they canceled the Kickstarter and moved to the website and Discord. They actually would provide roadmaps, and then people would get really upset when they would miss deadlines. And the thing with development is that it's constantly changing based on the information they get back. So one thing is that the original VR was actually built in Unreal Engine 4, and then when Unreal Engine 5 came out, they had to completely start over and like work on porting that over, which took time away from what they were building. Like they had to go back, and it'd be like having to go back and restart your project 6 or 7 times. right? So Dragon Federation moved away from providing timelines because people would get frustrated about how long it would take or when they would miss a timeline. Then COVID happened, and the reality is that most video games, the average time it takes to make them is 8 to 12 years. What Dragon Federation did differently was, as soon as they decided to make this a thing, instead of quietly working on it, they immediately involved everyone that could possibly be interested in purchasing this project and being involved. And you have to realize they've been working on this for 4 years. That's not even that 8 to 12 year timeline. Obviously, the goal that they do have it on their website that their plan is to launch this year in 2024. They do not have more detailed information, and Lore and Story isn't really the place for those things. Sometimes Samson will provide that kind of information, but that's not super common. I wouldn't it's at Samson's discretion. You're always welcome to come in and ask these questions, but don't be upset when he doesn't give you an exact answer. Because the huge thing is he doesn't want to say, hey, we're going to launch on this month, and then have to delay it another 3 or 4 months and have people angry. So the goal is to launch sometime this year with no detailed date. There's no month or date specific. So in regards to the nonverbal communication, moods will be associated with sounds and sound design. The sound is designed in a way that it shouldn't feel like it's on repeat. So you'll be able to feel like your dragon is talking with you with grumbles and chirps and other noises. So even if you choose to turn off verbal talking or text messaging, it'll still feel like the same way if you have a current pet, how it can communicate with you. You get to know it and understand it based on the noises it makes. So Hoyt asked, when will Dragon Federation be available in the app stores for people to download? So it's posted on the website. It's posted in several places on Discord. Samson did answer it and say in 2024. The worst thing, so he provided more information, was the worst thing he could do is turn everything on and then have to pause it for some unforeseen event. So he's not going to answer that in a more direct way other than that. In Lore and Story, Samson also told people that he recommended that they pay attention to the event schedule as it is published, because there's going to be some exclusive opportunities. So I know that they plan to try to go to FanX, DragonCon. Let me pull it up. I do my best. I'm an admin on Discord. I do my best that as soon as I hear an event is happening, I do my best to post it. So FanX is in Utah. That'll be about September 21st. They have a plan to be at DragonCon on August 29th. And then they plan to go to GamesCon, which is August 21st. These are estimated events they plan to be at. So I don't want anyone to feel like they need to go buy a ticket, because I can't guarantee that that's going to happen. I got those conventions from a previous Lore and Story that Samson had, where he said, this is our plan. These are the conventions we want to attend. And then I went online and I found the dates for the year of 2024. With that said, that is kind of a very tentative plan for some of the in-person events, conventions that, maybe if you're interested and it works out, continue to watch. As I find out more information from Lore and Story or the website or Facebook, I will post it in Discord and I'll talk about it on this YouTube channel. So yeah, he recommends that there's going to be these exclusive opportunities for in-person events. So everybody should pay attention to that. I'm super excited. And then Samson teased that there is a possible chance for a few breeds to be available to purchase this year. So there's a few questions. We know that the pygmies will be the cheapest dragon possible because it's supposed to be like the easiest entry level dragon. These are small, kind of like cat-sized dragons, as opposed to like the mountain skull, who's towering and huge and rideable. And then there's the Altum, which is a water dragon, and then there's the Timber Skull, which is a cousin to the mountain skull that's currently available. Now, sorry, I have hiccups. At one point, the mountain skull and the Altum had concept images for them, and at one point they also had a description on the website, but then they were brought down because people wanted to purchase them because they didn't want the mountain skull, and the goal was like, let's stop and focus on one dragon so that we can then make the next dragon, and etc., etc. So they took them off of the website. I had that information, and it is available in Discord if you want to go look at it, but it is also completely possible that information will change and differ from what you see. So those are more like sneak peek hidden opportunities. So like, we're not sure what breeds, but hopefully I like really want the Altum. So he also teased that possibly at the start, you might possibly start to see whispers of the pygmies mid-year this year, so about mid to late summertime. And they will be available with the launch of the app. So extrapolate some information, we might be able to get more of a time frame on when that app will be available. And then I didn't write down who asked it, but somebody asked, will people who've already purchased eggs get a pygmy for free? So Samson and Dragon Federation are super kind, and there's a lot of stuff that people are already getting with their egg purchase. And as cool and wonderful as it would be to give everything away for free, the company won't make any money, and that's kind of what companies need to do. So let me back up. Will egg purchasers get a pygmy for free? Samson said not necessarily. Although he wants to give free things to people, he can't make a decision on that right now. I'm going to hop on a soapbox. So people who've already purchased an egg, like the early backers, they already get a year free of stabling. Stabling isn't something really commonly talked about on Discord, just because it hasn't been fully decided what that looks like. There will be a subscription box. We did a competition on Discord to name the box. So I actually had suggested Draco Box, but then one of the admins was like, that's not cool enough of a name. We need to come up with a better name. So we did a poll where we asked the community. So again, I apologize if I am mispronouncing usernames, but Zero Dad got the winning entry for the digital subscription box name, which is Wyvern's Bounty. So Wyvern's Bounty is kind of sort of based off of this idea of receiving digital product in VR, potentially in AR, where you can get like special training treats or special training toys. You can feed your dragon without this box, and you can play with your dragon. There are free toys available without the box. This is more like, ooh, fancy, and it's a way for the company to get revenue. Because at the end of the day, the company needs to make money. And I get that people feel like their eggs are very expensive. Trust me, I bought 2. And that was before I found out permadeath was a thing. So they need to pay their developers. They need to pay their customer service, and they need to pay for the server to be ran. Like, most people don't think about that, but in order to host a multiplayer game, and to host like where the AI lives and stays, that's going to cost them money. And so they're going to have to continually get revenue. And so while I'm kind of with everybody where I'm like, oh, I want the next thing free, they've got to come up with ways to get people to purchase new stuff to continue making revenue. So I wouldn't expect the Pygmy to be free. There are other things that people got with their early purchases. There were people who got saddles, which, like, it hasn't been announced how much the saddles will cost, but each saddle will have a different price attached to it. Yeah. So just because you've purchased a Mountain Skull probably doesn't mean you're going to get a Pygmy. Obviously, if that changes, the community will be updated. And then I'm just going to double check. Dragon Seer is amazing. So what she does is she types out notes. So we both take notes, her and I, during the lore and story calls if we're available. And then she writes up these notes that she then, like an update note, that she then posts for those people who can't make it in our updates. And each update is sectioned out. So let's see. They're being deliberate. We covered that. So Dragon Federation does have a 10 to 15 year vision for this project. And so they plan to be around for a long time with ever-growing options and functions. Pay attention to calendar. Okay. App updates. Oh yeah. Currently, it's planned that there will be an array of ways for you to take care of your dragons, whether it's through VR, AR, tablet, PC, etc., etc. So that's kind of going back to that accessibility thing I was talking about earlier. Covered lore. So the team is currently proving out the Mountain Skull model. The dragon has the ability to scan and recognize multiple items in a scene and prioritizes its response to the environment. With the quest's pass-through function, the dragon can recognize spaces and objects like beds and etc. You'll be able to take your dragon out for a walk, an actual walk. If you use the quest pass-through function, you just have to wear your headset. I feel like that sounds like it's becoming more of a thing. I've definitely seen people in my area do that. It's kind of weird. If you don't know what it is. Like, I don't think it's weird that they do it. I think it's weird when you don't know what it is. So just be prepared that potentially some people might give you weird looks if you're walking around in your headset. There has been some updates to the hatchling model. And we'll get to see that in the near future. There is a current photo of the hatchling model as it is on Discord. I think it's been shared on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not involved with Facebook or Instagram, so, or even their TikTok or their YouTube. I only work with them on Discord. So yeah, I feel bad if there's updates that you guys aren't getting because you're in one place and not another. We do our best to make Discord as much of a catch-all that has everything, so I try to check Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and anything like that and make sure that, like, the information is shared on Discord and people have access. So there is actually a whole channel that is just official photos and images I could find. There are also some, like, work in progress models, like 3D models shared, some of the early animations without the texture on the models, so they don't look the best. So if they say WIP, those are work in progress and they're not what the final product looks like. But if those kind of things interest you, I recommend you go to dragonfederation.com, scroll down to the bottom. Why am I thinking of bottles today? Scroll down to the bottom, and then you can click on the little Discord icon, and join us on Discord and come join us and have conversations. And as things are updated, I post them there. Thank you so much. Bye.